All right, we're hot. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. I'm Paul with Hyperbaric Plus at 122nd and May in Oklahoma City. And our great friend Keith Bishop is doing a special event this week, and he's not going to be here. So I said, hey, I want to introduce something that we're getting ready to start down a new path. This is Tony. Tony, and I never get your Freitas.
We were just joking about this yesterday, that nobody can say my name right, so we decided we were just going to start talking about holistic health with Coach Tony up here, because everybody can remember Coach Tony, but nobody can say my last name, so it's okay, Paul.
Well, this is Coach Tony, and we're going to be talking about something that does not exist in Oklahoma.
That's right.
It's called Lyme disease. It's a tick-borne illness.
Not at all.
And, I mean, it's amazing how many people come in and say, I went to my doctor and asked for some Lyme testing, and I mean, you just get all kinds of crazy answers past that. So what's really important is I want you to listen to the symptoms. I guarantee you know people that are dealing with these issues. They're going to probably call it autoimmune because that's what the doctor told them they had. It was an autoimmune disease. You know, that's kind of a bucket. And what we want to do is learn how to dig down into what those symptoms are and the proper test. As Keith, Keith, you can say it. Assess.
Don't guess.
Yeah, assess, don't guess. So you're probably going to have to be a little closer there. So yeah, assess, don't guess, because there are tests. They're expensive. Mainstream medical, your insurance is not going to pay for it, but we'll talk about that a little bit when we get into this. And Tony's got a really unique story, which is how we met, and then the benefit that he got out of learning about hyperbarics and doing hyperbarics, and then how that's really blossomed into a lot of other different modalities that are creating a very positive outlook for what Tony's been dealing with for 15 years. So, Tony, I might interject once in a while. I'm going to try not to, but Tony's got a very compelling story. I want him to just kind of dive in and tell your story and see if it doesn't ring true with some of you folks.
The interesting part of my backstory is I grew up as a kid in California, then Colorado, then Oklahoma, and then high school years I was actually in Brazil. So people ask me all the time where I'm from, and I just have to say I don't know where I'm from because I grew up in so many different places. But as a kid, I was a typical kid who was outside playing sports all the time. I was rolling in the grass. I was super healthy. I just rarely ever got sick as a young child into adulthood. The common thing that I see looking back at my journey is I was exposed to pathogens constantly. I know that I was exposed to different bacterias like Lyme disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which is very common. Those are all pathogen based. So looking back in my health journey, even though as a young child and young adult I was super healthy and what I'd call an overachiever, just constantly going, rarely ever getting sick, that I never would have expected for Lyme disease to take me down the way that it has, based on how it started. So as I look, Paul knows this, but before Lyme disease, in my 30s, I was competing as a long-distance cyclist. I was in the middle of a 100-mile training ride to get ready for a 400-mile ride across Iowa. That's how physically fit and well I was doing. But it was at that point that I got hit by a car, and it created a traumatic event where I got hit by a car riding a bicycle, and it caused my whole body and brain to go haywire. So at the time I was working in IT and software and trying to deliver training, and it was so bad at that moment that I got hit that I started having double vision, blurry vision, neurological issues, and I thought it was because of the collision, but looking back now, I can see very clearly the last 15 years I've dealt with classic Lyme symptoms. So this is something many people with Lyme disease deal with. It can be manifested more physical, like you said, Paul, where it's MS-type symptoms, autoimmune-type symptoms, or it often manifests as neurological issues, blurry vision, anything from brain fog all the way up to severe Alzheimer's-like symptoms.
Years ago, they used to call it Lyme arthritis, and again, being an autoimmune issue, it presents itself like arthritis. That's what happened to me. I got bit by a tick, and 2 weeks later, I wake up in the morning, I can't close my hands because it feels so much like arthritis. So we're going to keep throwing out all these symptoms because you're going to start thinking about people in your family and you're going to start questioning. I gotta look back when you had that event. You got bit by a tick when you were 12 years old. You don't present with anything until this traumatic event. So what's happening, and what I see a lot of my clients when they tell their story, is that Lyme is manifesting in their body through this whole time period, and they feel good. And what's happening is that Lyme bacteria, my understanding as I read and educate, it's covering itself in a biofilm. It's literally hibernating in your body.
That's right.
And it looks like a corkscrew. A spirochete looks like a corkscrew, and it literally screws down into the tissue, covers itself in a biofilm, and you're not going to know anything until that traumatic event happens. And when your body's in deficit, all of a sudden, boom. Now, I want all of you to think about that. If you know somebody that after that car wreck, or after that divorce, or after that whatever, the loss of a loved one, all of those can be physical trauma or mental trauma. And that's what releases that spirochete. So think about that. Really dig into people that you may know that are in deficit and dig into why that happened. I mean, don't just discount what we're talking about.
Yeah, and that's very common, and we're seeing a lot more people come up here with Lyme disease or people with symptoms, and we send them for lab testing, and they discover they have Lyme disease. But one of the biggest challenges of dealing with Lyme disease is it can be dormant. You can be feeling pretty good and living a normal lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you go through a flare-up, and the flare-up can quickly take you down. So that is very common of what we see up here in the people that we're talking to with Lyme disease. But yeah, I got exposed when I was 12 years old and had a tick here in Oklahoma fall directly on my head. It's the only time I ever remember getting bit by a tick. But I did the wrong thing, Paul. I kind of freaked out. I told my friend that was beside me that actually saw the tick jump out of the tree and land on my head. I said, pull it out, pull it out. You know, I just kind of wigged out and was like, get it out now, just, you know. And so she did. She jerked it out. I think that's what a lot of people do. We freak out. We have a response. It's, oh no, I got to get this thing out of me. And the reality is there's a safe way to take the tick out, and that's where it begins. So people need to know need to know the education around, you know, some of these things that we see now are very common with Lyme disease. My story is very common to some of the other people up here.
Everybody says I put Vaseline, I did this, I covered it, I burned it, I did all these things. Anything you do to that tick stresses it out, and it's going to unload its contents into you when it gets stressed. The way that you remove a tick is very sharp tweezers at the very point that it's embedded in your skin. Don't squeeze the tick, because again, you're pushing all of the contents of that tick into your body. So you got to get at the bite, at the site where it's biting you, get the tweezers on it, and make sure you get all of the tick and the head out of that wound. But a lot of people don't put things on it so that it will quote unquote back out, because as it's backing out, it's releasing everything into your body. So
right.
Wrong thing to do. Anyway, didn't mean
Yeah, no, I wanted to share that with people because it's something that a lot of people don't know. So how do we deal with the tick bite is one of the first things we should know. But as far as symptoms, going back to what Paul said, with Lyme disease, that's the challenge is there's over 100 different symptoms that are commonly associated with Lyme disease, and the biggest factor, I heard one person speaking about Lyme disease, and they said the biggest factor is inconsistency. So one day you can have something jabbing, stabbing pain, arthritis type pain in the knee, and it can radiate to other parts of the body. So it turns off and on and moves around.
Well, actually, my understanding through our clients is they'll say, I got a pain in my hip, and a few minutes later they have a pain in their knee, and then they'll have a headache. And then, I mean, it's like they're communicating inside your body to attack. I mean,
Absolutely.
And we hear this from a lot of our Lyme clients that they have that pain moving around rapidly. I mean, it's not tomorrow, it's in a few minutes.
Yep. And I would say it doesn't just attack your body and brain, it also attacks the gut. A lot of people get diagnosed with IBS or different gut health issues when the root cause is pathogen-based, Lyme disease or parasites. Those are all common co-infections that go together. So gut health is a common problem, and as we know, if we're not taking care of our gut, if our gut's not healthy, our brain's not healthy. If our gut's not healthy, our body's not healthy. We feel that. So That's another place that it commonly attacks, and gut health goes right along with everything we're talking about.
So I'm looking here at chapter 3.
All right.
And what you're going to hear from a lot of doctors or people that are in the know. Everybody's got an opinion, including me. I hope nobody takes it that way, but all I do is share what I hear my clients tell me. I mean, that's how I get educated. Is I got a lot of Lyme clients here, and I've learned to listen to them, and that's what makes me send a lot of them to get Lyme tested.
Right.
Because I go, man, I've heard this story 20 times. You need to go, have you ever been bit by a tick? So anyway, I'll let you get on to chapter 3, however you want to pursue that.
Yeah, basically the point of this part of my story is I've got 15 years of research trying to chase down chronic health issues. It started with fasting, and I felt more boost from a stem cell production mobilization standpoint that I could reset my body and brain doing a 10-day fast. What I found, though, Paul, is most people don't want to talk about 10-day fast, and even though I can tell them a long list of benefits, their first reaction is, I could never do that. And so my reaction is, you're right. If you say you could never do a 10-day fast, then you could never do one. What we believe we can achieve, and that was the first hurdle I had to get over, is understanding that the benefits outweighed the costs. And when I did my first fast, I was just blown away. But the reason I bring that up is that was the first thing I did to reset my brain and felt the benefit. But the symptoms kept coming back, and so I started going to the doctors, a traditional route like most of us would do. The doctors couldn't tell me anything. Every time they did a lab test, they said, your lab tests look really good. In fact, most of your numbers look great. In other words, they're saying physically, everything we look for, you're healthy.
So let's talk about that test real quick, and the ones that, I mean, I know it's in here somewhere, but this would be a good time to interject. If you go to the doctor and they're just mainstream medical, what is covered by insurance is what's called the Western Block.
Yep.
And the Western Block is just not a very, especially Lyme being what it is. The Western Block is, you can't believe it. It may be false positive, it may be false negative. It's just really not a good test. So Igenix, Vibrant Labs, they got a Vibrant 1.0 and 2.0 for ticks, and different levels of, they're going to look for different pathogens in those two tests. I did the Vibrant 1.0. That's all I had to do because it lit up. I mean, I was infected.
Yep.
And that was a $530 test at my doctor's office. And a lot of doctors' offices will not even do that test because they got to order the kit, do the test. A provider has to turn that in to Vibrant. So you have to have your doctor on board. If they're not going to do something besides the Western Block, you're going to need to find another doctor because you can't rely on that test.
Yeah, we get a lot of people up here that say, well, my doctor tested for it and it was negative. And my first question is always, well, which test did you do? Because the tests Paul is talking about that are typically used at best are about 40% successful. And what that means is somebody has to have an active infection. It has to be very dominant. And they're literally just testing for one or two strains, if you will, when there's over 50 different strains when it comes to Lyme alone. So the tests have typically been ineffective, and what I constantly heard that we hear a lot up here was, here, try this pill. They were different pills to manage symptoms. What I came to realize is that over time, even though I took those pills and got some initial relief, that with time my symptoms got worse, and I felt much worse later on when I had this come out again, because then I was dealing with the pills and the symptoms at the same time. So that caused me about 7 years ago to go completely holistic. So for, at one point I was on 5 different medications. I was on Tums, I was on Excedrin, I was on Pepsid. Those were all part of my daily routine. And when I decided to go holistic and completely natural, I got rid of all of that to where I wouldn't even take a Tums or an Excedrin anymore.
And you found out how bad all those things were. Those are absolutely the things not to be doing.
And the biggest thing that I think that contribute, and I know you've seen this too, Paul, is I got worse in the end on those pills because it was destroying my gut bacteria. Mm-hmm. So even if some of that blocks some of the symptoms I was dealing with, it's just a slippery slope going downhill.
What, masking a symptom?
Right.
What does that mean? Masking a symptom to feel better? So
yep.
you got to get down to that root cause. That's
exactly
so required.
Yeah, and I'm grateful somebody shared that with me when I heard about root cause and holistic health, and that there was hope that we could actually attack Lyme disease in a holistic way. It just completely made sense, and it's shifted the last 7-10 years of my journey as I steered away because modern medicine basically couldn't help me, and that's very common with a lot of our Lyme patients.
So where do we go from here?
The biggest thing that happened with me, I would say, is in the last 3 years, I was in a constant state of flare-up. And I walked in here at the end of last year to see Paul because somebody told me that they had a protocol they were doing with Hyperbarics that helps with Lyme. So I walked in here a constant state of flare-up. Paul knows it. I told him I struggled to even communicate and talk and think straight. I remember during COVID, I jokingly had to have some comic relief in my brain, and I thought, when we have a pandemic, we're supposed to have zombies, and I feel so horrible right now that I feel like I'm the zombie because I literally can't function and can't do anything.
When you first
normally.
came in here, I would have agreed with that.
I know you would have.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had other people come in here that say, I feel like a zombie, and I can relate to that. The beauty is when I started diving, I got instant relief. In the first month, I could just tell that something was working, that it was helping my body. After about 3 months in here, I also started peptides, and I felt the synergistic benefit of the peptides and the hyperbarics. Reason I bring that up is I can equate all three of those, Paul, as far as stem cell mobilization and the healing energy that I felt, going through my body. There is a comparison that I can draw between a 10-day fast and hyperbarics. Mm-hmm. And I'm just guessing for folks out there that want to start slow, that aren't ready for a 10-day fast, they'd probably come in here and rather get into hyperbarics and go through a hyperbaric session with us, Paul. Mm-hmm. What would you say to the people out there about that? Because that's the comparison I can relate to what we're doing here that I've experienced.
So we've got a protocol here, and the only way I get into that protocol is when I have somebody in here, and we start low and slow, like everything that we do here. And I require at least 5 sessions. I like to make them back to back, and that's at 52 feet. And during those 5 sessions, we monitor, we educate. There's a lot of things to start looking at. Tony doesn't want to take people forward. You don't want to get them going until we know that their detox pathways are open. That is so important because our protocol is going to get into an area where we're killing bacteria, and we have to get that bacteria out of our system as quickly as possible. So detox pathways is the first thing we got to accomplish.
That's right.
And so in that first 5 sessions, we get to talk about all those things. And Tony kind of, working with people, identifies that we're on the right path and maybe it's time to do the next step. But we're not going to do that until, and we're not doctors. So we're going scuba diving and we're paying attention to how you respond to it. We scuba dive. We've got a lot of clients that scuba dive with us. Out of all those clients, when they get out of the tank, I don't ever call it a tank. When we get it out of the chamber, we're going to monitor how they're feeling, what we call their Herkimer reaction. How are they responding to that depth? And then once we get a baseline, we kind of know where we're at, we'll proceed. But again, we're not doctors. We're just going diving. We're just going in the chamber and monitoring what's happening. A lot of our clients, we highly recommend that you go get tested to know what we're dealing with. A lot of our clients come in here and they've got kind of an educated view that they just had a car wreck. They just had COVID. They just got out of bed. They just lost their mom or dad. They know that the traumatic event is what has all of a sudden manifested into this release of Lyme bacteria in their body. Mm-hmm. So it's understanding and paying attention to your body and working with your doctor, get that test done. Mm-hmm. If you can't get a test with Vibrant or Hygienics, I do the Vibrant. The Hygienics is the other one that a lot of our clients speak very highly of. I just happen to get on the one I'm on. So what I don't really want to go into disclosing anything other than the fact that we're doing hyperbarics.
Exactly.
And then I say that we also do red light therapy. Tony's been on this for 15 years. He knows the other things that help. We do a photobiomodulation helmet. We do brain mapping. I've got to think, and we don't have any good numbers back on this yet because we're kind of new at the brain mapping and people embracing the brain mapping and being able to follow and trend. But I think the brain mapping is going to tell the tale as well, because we're able to see the brain activity through your brain mapping, through a protocol in neurofeedback, through the protocol with the photobiomodulation helmet. There's a lot of tools that we have that we can monitor success. And that's what's so important, is being able to monitor movement.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of improvement as far as reported symptoms for people dealing with brain health issues here in the hyperbarics. But what Paul's referring to is we're also seeing it within the neurofeedback assessment tool, which is the brain mapping. So we can go in and actually see that people are getting relief, getting more energy movement.
Well, their brain is coming into balance where they've got all this crazy stuff going. We want to alter that through neurofeedback, but we want to do it in a balanced way. So the brain mapping allows us to do targeted therapy, because it actually shows up in the brain map that this part of the brain is inflamed. And so any of the protocols we do will address targeting that spot. And for instance, our photobiomodulation helmet has 4 regions in it, and all 4 regions can be individually programmed. So if the brain injury is here, the one thing you don't want to do, a lot of people will run out and go, I got a red light helmet, and you flip the switch. So it's turning on the whole skull. It's turning on your whole brain. And what you don't want to do is enhance the part of the brain that's showing good. You don't want to overstimulate that while you're trying to work on the deficit. So it's really important to target those areas. We work with Neuronic out of the East Coast. Neuronic is the manufacturer of the helmet, and they actually do the protocols for us. We send them the brain map, and they send us a protocol back. We're working with a couple of providers in town. Tony's getting ramped up with NewMind as the software we use, and it actually does the brain mapping and provides us a protocol as a starting point. And then we have other practitioners we can draw on as needed as we're getting this ramped up.
Yeah, and for you folks at home, if you want to research more about this, neurofeedback kind of ties everything together. That's what a lot of people are researching. It offers a number of different tools, including training to help move the needle on some of the different symptoms. But one recent success story I wanted to share is we had some folks come up from Dallas, and we did the brain mapping with them. That led us into the Neuronic helmet. Through my coaching for this person in Dallas who came up here, the first 2 changes we wanted to make was movement and exercise. We got him moving again, and so that moved the needle. That led to, because he's not here, he can't even come in and join us for hyperbarics, so we put him on the Neuronic helmet at home, and instantly, within the first month, he's reporting an improvement in symptoms. So I fully believe...
I believe, and energy has really changed. So
energy's changed, brain health has changed, anxiety's gone down, more focus. So we're working through that, and we've got him on a 90-day plan to work through each of these different therapies, and then we're going to reassess and do another brain mapping to see how much improvement we see there.
Well, we haven't said anything about, there's no my disclaimer is Tony and I are not doctors. We run a dive shop. That's all we do. We go diving and we pay attention to outcomes, and we share those out. My clients tell my other clients what they're getting out of this. So literally, we've got a little community here that's working on things. I encourage all of my clients to be working with a provider at whatever level to do the supplementation. There's a lot of things, and by doing all this, we're helping the providers learn about Lyme, because there are things to do where in the past you had Lyme disease, you were on your own. I mean, doxycycline, when you first get bit, 10 days of doxycycline, they really didn't have anything past that. That's all they offer.
Many still, that's all they offer.
So anyway, we are taking questions. If there's any questions out there, you're welcome to submit them on the chat on this Facebook Live. And we're going to be appearing, this same show will end up on several other social media platforms that Ryan's got us connected with. But if you got a question, send it in. I want to go ahead and dive into our next step, and who we're talking to a group, and I don't want to expose that group because they may not like that yet, but we're talking to a group that's having great success using light therapy, and they're off the East Coast, and our conversation is, can we be an outpost for their successful operation? Their successful operation does not include hyperbarics at this point.
That's right.
So they have a great interest in what we can do together. Again, the synergistic value of using these different therapies. And so without using names, where are we headed with that, and what does it look like we're going to be able to do?
Yeah, I would say stay tuned because we got a big announcement coming, hopefully as soon as next week. But we've been working on a comprehensive protocol that the group I have been talking to for over a year now, they started working on this back in the 90s because the whole family was stricken with Lyme disease.
The dad was a chiropractor, the doctor that took off on this, and now the son's running it.
Exactly. And they've been able to help a number of people. What I like about it is it's a synergistic, comprehensive protocol. I think one of the most common mistakes Lyme patients make is they do one thing and they say, I'm going to do this one thing and I'm going to track the progress. And while there's validity to that at a certain point, usually one thing alone is not going to completely remove or even make a dent in what that Lyme bacteria is doing. So their protocol has 10 to 12 different pieces. Much like our protocol here has 6 or 7 different pieces. So I believe, Paul, that if we put those pieces together and we brainstorm this, by being able to offer a Lyme protocol with hyperbarics in conjunction with everything they're doing with the Lyme laser, that we'll be able to see even better results. So that's what we're after. The founder there instantly believed in the power of hyperbarics because he's like, yeah, that makes sense. He was the first person I ever talked to, Paul, that completely got it, because I was like, as you understand, I hope, if we get down to 100 feet, that's going to completely destroy the biofilm. And if we can destroy the biofilm around that Lyme, we've got a much better chance of attacking it and doing, removing it. And he said, absolutely, that completely makes sense. He got it instantly.
So none of this has been studied. That's why I didn't go there. None of it's been studied, but we're playing around in scuba diving, and we're seeing crazy things happen. And this all came from somebody that's been dealing with Lyme for 17 years.
And it actually came from his Lyme doctor.
From his Lyme doctor. That's why we started doing this, and we're having great success with it. And so anyway, I wasn't ready to spill the beans on all that. So
the point I wanted to drive home is I believe that we're sitting at the perfect spot to combine these two therapies and see even better results than what they're currently getting. And we can do it here in-house and help more folks.
So out of my 20 Lyme clients that have been dealing with us, that have been all over the country to Lyme specialists all over the country that are doing EBU, that are doing sauna, that are doing all kinds of crazy supplementation, and hopefully it's all good. I mean, they're being led by their doctor and doing these supplements. When they introduced what we're doing here, all of that somewhat accelerated, so much so that most of those people now are on a maintenance program. They're feeling so well. So the infrared sauna is a big component that we're looking to expand into with this program. Light therapy is the component that's coming from the East Coast. They've got a list of supplementation or tinctures and of different, I guess I'd call Native American Chinese medicine, different herbs that are extracts that they're using to kill the bacteria. So there's a really neat program coming forward, and we're only following somebody that's having success, and we want to try to enhance that.
Absolutely. Yep. And again, we're hoping next week on Tuesday at our Lyme Dive that we can continue this conversation. So if you're listening and you're struggling with Lyme disease, I would say, follow up with us, get up here on Tuesday as we have a dive for Lyme patients on Tuesday mornings.
Well,
we'll continue the conversation about this after that dive.
Let's slow down. We're going to have a meeting with our Lyme clients about what our future looks like and make sure that they are supportive and they are on board. I kind of want some feedback from the people that have been there, done that. You don't go on our Lyme dive until you've done 5 52-foot dives. So if you were to come here next Tuesday, you're not going to be in the chamber during that session. But we would love to talk to you and get you started on that path. And, it's fun. I mean, you learn a lot. I have a lot of clients that they'll finish their package and they go, Paul, I miss the camaraderie. I miss the community. I miss all the things I learned in the chamber. And so there's quite a value in just that component.
Absolutely.
That there are a lot of people here that have been there, done that, and they know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And my client, it's just a matter. I really think, because when people come in on their first, we don't talk HIPAA. I don't do HIPAA. I'm not a medical clinic. We just get in the chamber, and everybody, their first dive or two, they're kind of like, wow, I can't believe you're talking openly about your problems. I think HIPAA really slowed down the community of being able to talk about what we deal with, and we don't talk that here. So if you have an interest in coming in and learning about it, understand that that's where we're at, and we're just going diving. Just think that you're out on a dive boat getting ready to jump in the water, and everybody's sitting around talking about what they get out of diving. That's what we do here.
And the good news is, in case there's any confusion, when you come in to do your dive, you don't even have to get wet. So don't worry about that, guys.
Yeah, I do a radio show. In fact, that's something else that's coming forward. But I do a radio show, and the host, the Gwen Lippert show, every time I said dive, she charged me a session. She goes, you can't tell my clients that, you can't tell my listeners that they're getting into water. Mm-hmm. It sounds like they're going to be getting into water. We can't do that.
Right.
And I said, I know that's a slang term. We are replicating what a diving experience at 52 feet would feel like in pressure on your body. When you're in the chamber, you're not wet. And when people say, do I need to bring a bathing suit? And I always say, yeah, and a beach towel. But anyway, so we got questions. So I'll just throw this out there, and one of us will answer it. What were your first symptoms?
I would say one of my first symptoms was Lyme arthritis, like Paul mentioned. I just felt like my fingers were locking up, my hands weren't moving. Occasionally I would have fatigue where I just slept all weekend, sleeping 3 days straight all weekend trying to recover, and you're not exactly sure why. It's something that's very common. The fatigue and just feeling like you sleep all the time and yet you can't get rested is very typical with Lyme disease. So that's what I experienced early on. That were some of my first symptoms.
Again, if you've ever had any kind of arthritis, or if you've heard what it is from grandma and she told you that it's joint pain, so your knees hurt, your hands hurt, any joint, your hips will hurt, joint pain. It's just like it's sometimes a mild fever, but pay attention. It's those, you may have been bit by a tick 10 years ago, and then you may have done something traumatic that you're not even considering traumatic, and that's when Tony always calls it a flare-up. But that's what it feels like. Something is setting that off. There is a trigger, and then all of a sudden all these symptoms show up.
Exactly.
So, what advice would you give somebody that's just beginning their own journey?
Whether it's a Lyme journey or anybody who's struggling with any symptoms, my first piece of advice is clean food matters. If you're eating unclean foods, which is what I call them, processed foods, seed oils, anything that's high in GMOs like soy and corn are typically food triggers. So learning what your food triggers are and eating clean is the foundation for improving any kind of disease. So that's the number one thing I say.
I have found one of the most profound things I ever said in the chamber. And I can't believe how many times this has come back to me. If you're in the store shopping and you pick up something to put in your shopping cart and it has more than one ingredient on it, put it back. You can take all those things that are single ingredients, organic is always number one if you can, but take up those single ingredients and mix them yourself. That's what processed food is. It's mixing all these things so that when you eat that Dorito chip with the seasoning, with the salt, with the corn, they put all those ingredients together. Half of them not good. And what's crazy to me is the cigarette industry now owns a lot of the fast food industry or the processed food industry. And go look up Doritos, what would it be? where you're addictive. Look up Doritos, addictive. And I shouldn't look up a processed food. But I know that those articles are out there. Just go read.
Absolutely.
It's crazy what it's all shifted to. You don't see much people doing cigarettes anymore.
Yeah. And I learned that rule about 15 years ago. My rule was when I go into the grocery store, if I read the label and there's a whole bunch of words I can't pronounce, that those words are not natural. Those are chemical packed. They are artificial, and any of those artificial ingredients are not good for our body. No. So
if it has more than one ingredient and it's not organic, go find organic. And I can't believe how many people said, Paul, you have ruined my entire shopping experience. Because I leave this, I go, hey, figure it out, man. And I take people back to seeing what I bring up here to eat. I got a lot of sardines. I make taco meat out of organic vegetables and grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I'll put that over a really leafy green salad. And I'll put an avocado all mashed up. I try to make a dressing out of my avocado. I use walnut oil to thin that avocado to make that a dressing. There's just so many things we can do that are so nourishing. When you eat clean, whole foods like that, you eat half as much. You're so satisfied with half the amount of food that you don't eat half. Just think of cutting your grocery bill in half. That's what happens over time. It's not immediate.
And I think all this is crucial, going back to the question, all this is crucial for people with Lyme disease, because what might be unhealthy for a healthy person, for Lyme disease, the symptoms they can be instant triggers for a flare-up. So this is crucial for people struggling with Lyme disease.
So the next one, and I would refer you to Keith. I hope this is one of Keith's listeners, but what's the best thing for early liver cancer? I know that one of our clients is fighting prostate cancer, and his liver got way out of whack because of the things he was doing, not only through his doctor, but things he was doing on his own. His liver got in trouble, and he went to a doctor down in Norman that instantly changed the course on his liver. And it wasn't liver cancer, it was liver. But, all of this is baseline. You got to find a place to start and go to work on it. And again, Tony and I aren't doctors. I don't have any advice in that.
Yeah, I can tell you we would definitely refer you to Keith, because he's our expert in that. But if it was me, I can tell you I would instantly start fasting. I would jump into the Master Cleanse fast. Fasting just improves our body's chance of fighting against the cancer naturally. That, and I'm currently using, liver is a common issue with Lyme disease as well. So I'm currently using a castor pack where I'm putting castor oil on my belly button and over my liver and sleeping with a pad over it that holds it in there. So that's another great tool to naturally detox our liver that I'm currently using. So that would be the first two things I would start, just to support my body's natural ability to do this properly. And then Keith would have a number of other tips on how to attack the cancer specifically.
Yep. So how does this journey affect your family? And when I say this is all over the place. I've had multiple families come and dive with me that everyone in the family had Lyme disease. But the doctors and the medical world still say that you can't transmit that from person to person. But it's weird how many families I've had that they are all infected. So, where's the study at on that? You would have to look that up. How can it affect you as a family? And how do you manage? You just do what you can to keep everybody as healthy as possible. You all start eating clean. If you can find a path to eliminate Lyme, start searching it out. But anyway,
I would say that's a very challenging question, because that's one really good answer that we see a lot. There's so many different answers I could give depending on the perspective, the actual intent of the question. But one of the most common things that I see is Lyme patients really struggle because they feel like their family doesn't get it. And I'll give you a common example that I've seen in health groups online is they say, when somebody has cancer, the community rises, the community prays, the community feeds this person, the community asks how they're doing. But when a community doesn't know what to do with something like Lyme disease, they don't know how to react. So they kind of tend to push away or get scared or clam up. So learning to support people with Lyme disease is a big challenge. And the one piece of advice I can share with whoever wrote this question, if you're coming from the perspective that I think you are, I get where you're coming from. One of the things that I learned the most is from the Lyme specialists that I follow. They said, you don't get it, meaning you don't understand Lyme disease. You don't get Lyme disease until you have it. You don't get it until you get it, meaning once you have those symptoms, you understand it. So I would encourage you, if this has been a barrier between you and your family, get somewhere like here or online in some of the Lyme groups, talk to me. The very first thing you need is support. And if you're not getting that from your family, know that you can get it from fellow Lyme patients would be my advice.
And if you're guessing you've got Lyme, you're guessing. If you go to the doctor and say, I think I have Lyme, the only way to know is to start doing some testing. And again, to do the right test is expensive, so some people don't just dive in and do it. But that's what's going to take you a while. It says, how long did it take to receive answers? You can guess. That's not an answer.
I can tell you, I got bit by a tick at age 12, started having symptoms at age 40 when I got hit by the car. I'm now 53, so I've got almost 15 years of symptoms just constantly attacking me. But even then, it was just in the last 7-8 years that I got a diagnosis from a holistic practitioner that totally made sense.
Yep.
So it's only been 7 years that I know what I'm dealing with, and I've had this bacteria in my body likely for over 40 years.
So I don't know who this is, but it says, Paul, do you remember the service dog Millie? Long coat German Shepherd.
Okay.
I am sorry, I am drawing a blank, but thank you for the question, and I hope that you'll rattle my cage and tell me when I would have known all this. But Tony usually says when I answer like that, Paul, you need to get in the chamber. Your brain's not working. So anyway, he didn't say that. I appreciate it.
We just thought it. It's okay, Paul.
So tell us more about your Lyme dives. Do you have to pay to be in the community? What are you discovering? So if you come in and get in the chamber, it's, your introductory. If you'll send me or if you go on our website, there's a 25% discount. And so your first session, $75. And man, if you come in and you say, I'm concerned that I might have this, you'll probably get an earful because our community has a lot of information that they'll want to share. I hope not so much that it drives you away. But if you ask the question, there's a lot of people here that are dealing with a lot of different things. So to start that journey, just come in and take a dive and understand what our whole deal is, and then look around at the other things that we offer. We got a lot of brain health components here, and that's what Tony's doing, is Tony's guiding people through those different brain health modalities. So to pay to be in the community, no. You can follow us online. If you come and dive, you're part of the community. So that's the membership, if you want to say it that way. And what are you discovering?
Let me segue that before you answer that last one. The one thing I would say is that I hear constantly from all of our clients, and it was one of the things that I appreciated most when I first came up here, Paul, was what we call chamber chatter. We get into the chamber. You're not stuck in this little tube all by yourself. We're having conversations about holistic health and holistic options and what people are going through in their healing journey. So the chamber chatter and the community is one of the biggest things that I know everybody that's up here that's part of it loves about it. So I want to thank you, Paul, for that environment, because it's a great place for us to get in and not feel wacky talking about holistic health options.
And at the same time, I do have people that show up with a book, and their expectation is to get in and read a book. I often say it would be kind of weird that you read that book and not join in the conversation, but if that's why you're here, let me get you in a part of the chamber. Sometimes they'll get in the back, and we'll turn the lights up where they can get in the back and read. Because we have windows, but you have to be positioned right. I have a lot of concussion and a lot of brain health issues in here, and light sensitivity is really important to them. So we keep it pretty dim in there. There's a couple of places you can sit. We can turn up the lights and you can read. If that's the case and that's what you want to do, bring earplugs. And we would probably put you in the back so that the biggest part of the chamber can have that conversation, which is the reason they're here. But we want to try to benefit everybody that comes. I got one crazy cat that comes in with a book of puzzles. and he's sitting right over here. He's not listening to me.
He missed
But he
it.
brings in a book of puzzles, man, and he goes after those puzzles, and he talks about how the puzzle, how fast he was starting to do the puzzles compared to the old days. And so that was his measurement. And everybody finds a measurement. We all got to find something that we can measure success. We have a lot of ways to do it here. And if you're coming in for concussion, for any kind of brain issue, we've got some tests that we don't even charge for. I charge you for the second one if you do one at the end of whatever this is. But we got ways that we can show success. And that's what's important to me. I love data. It's not me. I'm not a doctor. It's you taking a little, one of them's the right eye, one of them's the hit check, one of them's the MOCA test. So we have a lot of different things that we can do depending on what ails you.
That's right.
Well, we're getting pushed up to the hour. Tony, any closing comments you want to make?
The one thing I would say is we've got lots of different options here, and if you're dealing with Lyme disease, please get in touch. You can reach me, Tony@hyperbaric.plus is my email, or you can call up here to Hyperbarics Plus. We would love to talk to you and let you know what some of the different options are coming, and I really believe we've got a comprehensive protocol launching in September that runs for 9 months. It's part of what's coming and about to be announced soon, guys.
By the end of next week, I may have to push Keith off and say, okay, we started something. We'll do a follow-up to what we're talking about. But thanks for joining today. Thanks for all the questions. That's awesome. And if ever you're in the neighborhood at 122nd and May, feel free to sign up, jump in. And, man, we can answer all kinds. Everything in the chamber is confidential. So we can talk about all kinds of stuff in the chamber. But anyway, I'm Paul with Hyperbaric.plus, 122nd and May in Oklahoma City. Tony, Coach Tony, as I was dialed into.
So
Coach
nobody
Tony.
has to learn to say Freitas.
Yeah, Freitas. If you saw it spelled on paper, you'd wonder how you got there.
That's right.
So Coach Tony and Ryan, thank you for all you do. Thanks for driving this boat. We will see you all next week. I think Keith will be here next week. And until then, Keith always closes with a fist bump.
I like it.
Thanks. Appreciate your time, Tony.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
So you must be that crazy guy that Dean called me about. How are you? I'm Paul.